"Daddy, why are they looking at you like that?" My daughter's voice was small, but it cut through everything. The music, the laughter, the clinking glasses, the polite smiles that weren't polite at all. Everything went quiet in my head except her question. I forced a smile as I crouched in front of her, right there beside table 14, the one tucked behind a pillar like we didn't belong in the same room as everyone else. "Like what, sweetheart?" I asked. She frowned, her little fingers sticky with chocolate as she pointed, not subtle at all. "Like you did something wrong." I didn't answer right away, because the truth, I didn't know how to explain that look. That look people give when they've already decided your story. When they think they know why your marriage failed, why your life looks smaller, why you're standing alone at your ex-wife's wedding, and worst of all, why you deserved it. "I didn't do anything wrong," I said finally, keeping my voice calm. Lily studied my face like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Then she asked the question I wasn't ready for. "Then why does it feel like you're losing?" That one hit harder, harder than the whispers, harder than the smirks, harder than seeing Rachel walk down the aisle earlier in a dress that probably cost more than everything I owned. Because Lily wasn't judging me. She was trying to understand me, and I had no answer. I brushed a strand of hair behind her ear and kissed her forehead. "Sometimes people just don't understand things properly," I said. "That's all." She didn't look convinced, but she nodded anyway because she trusted me, and that trust felt heavier than anything else in that room. I stood up slowly, scanning the ballroom again. Nothing had changed. Men in perfect suits, women in dresses that looked like they came from magazines, everyone laughing too easily, everyone belonging except us. I reached for Lily's hand. "Stay here for a minute, okay?" I said. "I'm just going to step outside." Her fingers tightened around mine. "Don't be gone long." "I won't." I made that promise too quickly, like I always did. Then I let go and walked away. The moment I stepped outside, the noise faded behind me. The air was cooler, cleaner. It didn't carry judgment. I walked without thinking, past the lights, past the trimmed hedges, until I found a bench far enough away that no one could see me. Then I sat down, and for the first time that night, I stopped pretending. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, staring at the ground. I had told myself I could handle this, that I could walk in, smile, sit through the ceremony, and leave with whatever dignity I had left. I was wrong. Every second inside that room had chipped something away. The way Rachel looked at me. Not angry, not even bitter, just finished, like I was something she had already outgrown. The way Brandon shook my hand. Too firm, too confident, like he already knew he'd won. And the worst part, he wasn't wrong. I closed my eyes. 4 years since the divorce. 3 years of raising Lily on my own, 60-hour work weeks, no complaints, no excuses, just doing what needed to be done. And still, I ended up here, sitting outside my ex-wife's wedding, trying to figure out how to walk back inside without breaking in front of my daughter. I laughed once under my breath, a dry, empty sound. This was never about being civil. Rachel didn't invite me for Lily, not really. She invited me so I could see it, all of it, the life she wanted, the life I couldn't give her, the life someone else built for her instead. And I came, like an idiot, because my daughter asked me to, because I thought maybe I could show her something, strength, grace, something worth respecting instead. She saw her father being looked at like a failure. I pressed my hands together, trying to steady them. I had one job tonight. One, don't let Lily see me fall apart, and I was already failing. I took a deep breath. Then another, get up, go back inside, take her home. That was the plan now, no speeches, no pretending, just leave, before things got worse. I pushed myself to my feet, brushed off my jacket, tried to put my face back together into something that looked normal, something she could trust. I turned toward the hotel. And that's when I heard it, a car, not loud, not dramatic, just deliberate. I glanced toward the entrance without thinking. A black sedan had just pulled up, sleek, polished, the kind of car that didn't need attention to get it. The driver stepped out first, opened the back door. And for some reason, I didn't look away. A woman stepped out, Black dress, simple, no shine, no glitter, but somehow she stood out more than anyone inside that ballroom. I felt my chest tighten before I even fully recognized her. The way she carried herself, the way she paused for half a second after stepping out, like she was already in control of wherever she was about to walk into. Victoria, I didn't move, didn't breathe properly, didn't understand, because that didn't make sense. She had said no, clear, final, no hesitation, and after that nothing, no follow-up, no explanation, so why was she here? I stayed where I was, half hidden in the garden, watching her from a distance like this wasn't real. Like if I blinked, she'd disappear. She looked toward the entrance first. Then slowly, she scanned the area, and then her eyes found me. Even from that distance I felt it, that sharp, direct focus. Like she had been looking for me specifically, not the wedding, not the crowd, me, and just like that, she started walking, straight toward me, each step steady, unhurried, sir. I felt something shift in my chest, not hope. I didn't allow that anymore, but something close to it, something dangerous. I straightened without realizing it. My hands suddenly unsure of what to do. My thoughts completely gone. She stopped a few feet in front of me, close enough now that I could see her clearly. The same composed expression, the same unreadable eyes, but something was different. I just couldn't name it yet. "You came," I said. It sounded weaker than I wanted. Like I wasn't fully convinced this was real. She tilted her head slightly. "I said no to pretending," she replied calmly. Her voice hadn't changed, still steady, still controlled. "I didn't say no to showing up." I stared at her, trying to catch up, trying to understand the gap between those two things, because to me, they felt like the same thing. "Why?" I asked. It came out quieter than I expected, more honest than I planned. For a moment she didn't answer, she just looked at me, really looked. Not like a boss checking performance, not like someone assessing a situation, like she was measuring something else entirely. Then she spoke. "Because you asked." That didn't help. I shook my head slightly. "That's not a reason." "It is," she said, a small pause. Then, "In 4 years, you've never asked me for anything." That landed somewhere deeper than I expected. She took one step closer. Not dramatic, not intimate, just enough to close the distance. "And when you finally did," she continued, "you were already prepared for me to say no." I didn't deny it because she was right. "I don't do favors like that," she said. Same tone, same control. "But I also don't ignore people who don't ask unless it matters." Silence stretched between us. Not uncomfortable, just heavy. She extended her hand, simple, direct. "Let's go back inside." I looked at her hand, then at her. Then back at her hand again. This wasn't what I expected. This wasn't what I planned. I had already accepted how tonight would end. Alone, quietly leaving. Pretending it didn't hurt as much as it did. And now, that ending was gone, replaced with something I didn't understand, something I didn't control, something that could go very right. Or very wrong. "Victoria," I started. "I'm not there to play a role," she said, cutting me off calmly. "I'm there because you shouldn't be standing alone." That was it, no promise, no explanation, just that, and somehow that made it harder to refuse. I looked back toward the hotel, toward the place I had just decided to walk away from, then back at her. Then finally, I took her hand. The moment I took her hand, something inside me steadied, not fixed, not healed, just steadied. Like someone had put a hand on my back and said, "Stand up straight." We walked toward the entrance together. No rush. No performance. Just two people moving forward, but the closer we got, the more I felt it. That pressure again. The eyes, the judgment waiting on the other side of those glass doors. I almost stopped. Almost pulled my hand away. Almost told her this was a mistake. But she didn't tighten her grip. Didn't drag me forward. She just kept walking at the same pace. Like she trusted me to keep up, and for some reason I did. The doors opened and everything shifted. It didn't happen all at once. At first it was just a few heads turning, a couple of conversations pausing, a waiter slowing down mid-step. Then it spread, like a quiet ripple, and suddenly Everyone was looking at us. Not me, us. I felt it immediately, the difference. Before, the looks were soft, pitying, dismissive. Like I didn't matter enough to focus on. Now they were sharp, curious, alert, like something in the room had changed and they were trying to figure out what. We took a few steps inside, and the whispers started. Who is that? Wait, isn't that? No, it can't be. It is her. I didn't need to look around to know who they were talking about. I felt it in the way people moved, the way paths cleared without being asked, the way posture changed, respect, real respect, not the polite kind, the kind that comes with power. Victoria didn't react, didn't acknowledge any of it. She just walked beside me like none of it mattered, like this was normal, like I was normal in this room. And that alone, that quiet refusal to treat me like I didn't belong, hit harder than anything else that night. We hadn't even made it 10 steps before someone approached, a man in his 50s, expensive suit, confident smile, the kind of man who probably owned things I couldn't even pronounce. Ms. Caldwell, he said, extending his hand quickly. I didn't expect to see you here tonight. Victoria shook his hand once. Brief, professional. Neither did I, she replied. No smile, no extra words, just enough. The man chuckled lightly like he wasn't sure if that was a joke. Then his eyes shifted to me, a quick glance, a fast calculation, and I saw it happen. The exact moment he tried to place me, to understand why I was standing next to her. And you are? He asked. Before I could answer. She's with me, Victoria said, simple, clear, no hesitation. The man's expression changed instantly, not confusion anymore, recognition, adjustment. He nodded. Of course, he said quickly. Enjoy the evening. And just like that, he stepped aside, like I wasn't invisible anymore, like I didn't need to explain myself. We kept walking, and I realized something I hadn't felt all night. I wasn't shrinking anymore. Daddy. I turned just in time to see Lily running toward me, her little shoes barely making sound against the polished floor, her face lit up. Not confused, not worried, just happy. That alone made my chest tighten. She stopped in front of us, then looked up at Victoria, curious, bright, unfiltered. Who's this? She asked. I crouched down beside her. This is Victoria, I said. She's my boss. Lily blinked, then looked back at Victoria again, longer this time, like she was deciding something important. Victoria did something I had never seen her do before. She bent down, not halfway, not awkwardly, all the way, until she was at Lily's level. Hi, Lily, she said gently. Her voice changed, softer, warmer, still controlled. But different. Lily smiled immediately, like she could feel it too. Hi, she said. Victoria glanced at her hands. Chocolate, she asked. Lily giggled and wiped her fingers on her dress. Sorry. Victoria reached into her clutch, pulled out a folded handkerchief, and handed it to her. No need to apologize, she said. Just clean up before it becomes permanent evidence. Lily laughed, actually laughed. And just like that, something in the air shifted again, because for the first time that night, Lily looked completely comfortable, safe, proud. She turned to me, eyes shining. Daddy, she whispered loudly, she's nice. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded. Ethan. The voice cut through everything. Calm, polished, familiar. I turned slowly, and there she was, my ex-wife, standing a few steps away, still in her wedding dress, still perfect, still exactly the person everyone in that room admired, but her expression. That was new, not warm, not welcoming, something else, something tighter. Her eyes moved from me to Victoria, then back to me, and in that moment, I saw it, not pity, not anymore, something closer to uncertainty. Rachel, I said. My voice stayed steady. Somehow, she forced a small smile. I didn't realize you brought company. There it was, that tone, polite on the surface, sharp underneath, before I could respond. Victoria stood up fully, smooth, controlled. I wasn't aware attendance required prior approval, she said calmly. Rachel blinked, just once, caught off guard. I didn't mean it like that, she replied quickly. I'm sure you didn't, Victoria said, no edge, no raised voice, but somehow. It landed heavier than anything Rachel had said all night. Silence followed, uncomfortable, unavoidable. Then Rachel looked back at me, trying to regain control. I just thought you'd come alone, she said. There it was again, that assumption, that expectation, that version of me she had already decided on. I didn't answer, I didn't need to, because for the first time, I wasn't standing there trying to prove anything. Congratulations on your wedding. Victoria's voice broke the tension, measured, neutral. Rachel turned to her, studying her more carefully now, like she was trying to understand exactly who she was dealing with. Thank you, Rachel said slowly. Then, and you are. There was a pause, just a fraction of a second, but I felt it, because I didn't know how Victoria would answer that. Boss, colleague, nothing, everything. I'm here with him, Victoria said. That was it. No title, no explanation, just that. And somehow, that answer carried more weight than anything else she could have said. Rachel's smile flickered, just for a second, but I saw it. She turned back to me. And this time, her voice was different, softer, careful. Well, I'm glad you didn't come alone, she said, but she didn't mean it. Not really, because this wasn't the version of tonight she planned. Daddy, can we dance? Lily tugged on my sleeve, saving me. Again, I looked down at her. Then at the dance floor, couples moving in perfect rhythm, everything elegant, everything controlled. I hesitated. I don't. You do, Victoria said quietly. I looked at her. You just don't think you do. That caught me off guard. Lily was already pulling my hand. Please. I exhaled, then nodded. Okay. The music slowed. We stepped onto the dance floor. I kept it simple, nothing fancy. Just holding my daughter's hands as she stepped on my shoes like she used to when she was smaller. She laughed, bright, carefree, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. The people, the whispers, the past, all of it. It was just me and her, and that was enough. But when I looked up, I saw something I didn't expect. People were watching again, but not the same way, not pity, not judgment, something quieter, something different. And at the edge of the floor, Victoria stood there, watching, not smiling, not reacting, just present, like she had already decided something. And didn't need to explain it to anyone. And for the first time that night, I wasn't thinking about what I'd lost. I was thinking about what I still had. And maybe what I hadn't seen before. I didn't notice when the song ended. Lily did. Again, she said, still holding my hands, bouncing a little on her feet. I laughed softly. Let's give the band a break. She pouted just a little, then leaned closer. Can we stay a bit longer? That question should have been easy. An hour ago, I would have said no without thinking. Get her out, protect her. End the night before it got worse, but now, I glanced past her toward the edge of the dance floor. Victoria was still there, not watching us anymore, watching the room, observing, like she always did in meetings, taking everything in without needing to say a word. And something about that, about the way she stood there like she belonged anywhere she decided to stand, made it easier to answer. Yeah, I said, we can stay a little longer. Lily smiled instantly. That gap-toothed, messy, perfect smile. And just like that, the decision felt right. Ethan. I didn't even need to turn. I knew that voice. Calm, measured, too confident. Brandon. I turned slowly, still holding Lily's hand. He walked toward us with that same easy posture he'd had all night. But it wasn't exactly the same. Something had shifted, slightly. Not gone. Just adjusted. Mind if I borrow you for a second? He asked. His eyes flicked briefly toward Victoria, then back to me. Like he was trying not to make it obvious, like he already knew it mattered. I hesitated, not because I was afraid of the conversation, but because Lily was still holding my hand, and I wasn't sure I wanted to leave her. I'll stay with her. Victoria's voice came from behind me, calm, certain. I turned, she was already stepping closer. Lily looked up at her, then at me. Is that okay? I asked. Lily nodded immediately. Yeah, she said, she's nice. Victoria didn't react to that, but I saw it. A slight shift in her expression, barely there. Then she reached out her hand toward Lily. Come on, she said. Let's find something without chocolate this time. Lily giggled and took it, just like that. No hesitation, no fear. That alone told me more than anything else. I let go of my daughter's hand and followed Brandon. We stopped near the bar, away from the music, away from the center of attention, but not far enough to feel private. That was intentional. Everything about Brandon felt intentional. I'll keep this quick, he said, picking up a glass of something amber-colored. He didn't offer me one, didn't need to. This wasn't that kind of conversation. I didn't expect you to come back in, he added. I didn't respond. He took a sip, studying me over the rim of his glass. And I definitely didn't expect, he paused, glancing toward Victoria, that. There it was, no pretending now. No one did, I said. That earned a small smile, clearly. Another sip, then. You've done well for yourself. I frowned slightly. I'm a secretary. Executive secretary, he corrected smoothly. For her. That pause mattered. He let it sit. Let the implication form on its own. I know who she is, he continued. Everyone in this room does. I stayed quiet, because I knew where this was going. And now you walk in with her, he said, lowering his voice just enough, and suddenly the story changes. I felt my jaw tighten. What story? He smiled again, that same controlled, confident smile, the one people tell themselves about you. There it was, out in the open. I crossed my arms slightly. And what story is that? That you were the guy who couldn't keep up, he said simply. Couldn't give Rachel what she wanted, couldn't build something bigger. Each word was calm, careful, not loud but precise. And now, I asked, he shrugged, now people are reconsidering. I let that sink in, not because I agreed with him, but because I knew he was right. The room had changed, not me, the room. And you don't like that, I said. It wasn't a question. He laughed lightly. I don't care, he said, but I do find it interesting. I raised an eyebrow. How so? He leaned a little closer, not threatening, just enough to make the conversation feel more personal. Because I'm trying to figure out if this is real, he said. I didn't move, didn't blink. Does it matter? I asked. It does to people like me, he replied. That line said everything. People like him, people who measured everything, status, connections, power. And what do you think? I asked. He studied me again, longer this time then. I think, he said slowly, that men don't usually end up next to women like her by accident. Silence, heavy, calculated. And I think, he added, that if this is real, then I might have underestimated you. That one hit differently, not like an insult. Not like before, more like a reassessment, like I had moved from one category to another in his mind. I exhaled slowly. I didn't come here to prove anything, I said. I know, he replied. That's what makes it interesting. Daddy. I turned. Lily was running toward me again, this time holding something, a small plate, 2 pieces of cake, of course. She stopped in front of me, slightly out of breath. I got one for you, she said proudly. I crouched down again. Thank you. I took the plate. She looked up at me, then leaned closer. People aren't looking at you weird anymore, she whispered. I blinked. That simple, that honest, and somehow. That mattered more than anything Brandon had just said. Yeah, I asked. She nodded. They look different. I smiled slightly. Good different. She thought about it then. Like they're trying to understand something. I huffed a quiet laugh. That sounds about right. I stood back up. Brandon was still there, watching, thinking, evaluating, but I didn't feel the same pressure anymore, because Lily was standing right next to me, and she wasn't confused anymore. That changed everything. I should get back, I said. He nodded once. Of course. Then, almost as an afterthought. Ethan. I paused. He met my eyes. Whatever this is, he gestured slightly toward the room, toward Victoria, toward everything. Handle it carefully. That surprised me. Why? He took a slow breath, then said, Because women like her don't show up twice. No arrogance, no mockery, just a statement. Then he turned and walked away. I stood there for a moment. Lily tugged my sleeve again. "Can we go back?" she asked. I looked toward the other side of the room. Victoria was near the table now, talking to someone briefly, not smiling, not engaging more than necessary, still herself, always herself. "Yeah," I said, "let's go back." As we walked toward her, I felt it again, but different this time. Not pressure, not judgment, awareness. People were watching, but they weren't dismissing me anymore. They were recalculating, and for the first time in a long time. I wasn't shrinking under it. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was just walking, with my daughter, back to the only person in that room who had shown up, without asking for anything in return. And somehow, that mattered more than everything else combined. Victoria saw us before we reached her. She always did. It didn't matter how crowded a room was, how many conversations were happening. She noticed everything that mattered to her. And right now, we mattered. She ended her conversation with a brief nod, no wasted words, no polite lingering, then turned fully toward us. Lily walked straight up to her like they'd known each other longer than an hour. "I brought him cake," she announced, pointing at me like it was some kind of achievement. Victoria glanced at the plate in my hand. "Impressive," she said. "Most people forget about others when dessert is involved." "I don't," Lily said proudly. Victoria gave a small nod. "I can see that." It was subtle, but Lily lit up like she had just been promoted to something important. I watched that exchange quietly, because something about it didn't feel forced. Victoria wasn't trying to be warm, she just was, in her own way, and somehow that made it feel more real. "Are you leaving soon?" Victoria's voice shifted slightly as she looked at me. Back to that calm, direct tone I knew so well. I hesitated. An hour ago I would have said yes without thinking. Now I glanced down at Lily. She was still smiling, still relaxed, still happy. "I was planning to," I said, "but we can stay a little longer." Victoria studied my face for a second, not judging, just checking. Then she nodded once. "All right." No questions, no pressure, just acceptance. "Ethan." This time the voice didn't come with confidence. It came with something else. I turned. Rachel was walking toward us again. Alone this time. No bridesmaids. No audience she was performing for, just her. And for the first time that night. She didn't look completely in control. Her steps were slower, measured, like she wasn't entirely sure how this conversation was going to go. She stopped a few feet away. Her eyes moved to Lily first, softening immediately. "Hey, sweetheart," she said gently. Lily smiled. "Hi, Mom." Rachel crouched down, adjusting a loose strand of Lily's hair. "You look beautiful," she said. Lily beamed. Then Rachel stood back up and looked at me, really looked, not through me, not past me, at me. That alone felt unfamiliar. "I wanted to check if you were okay," she said. Simple words, but they didn't feel simple. I held her gaze. "I'm fine." She nodded slowly, but I could tell. She didn't fully believe it, or maybe she didn't understand it, because this wasn't how she expected tonight to go. Her eyes shifted toward Victoria again, lingering this time, trying to place her, to understand the connection. And then, "Can we talk?" Rachel asked. That caught me off guard. Now I asked if that's okay. I looked at Lily, then at Victoria. She didn't say anything, didn't interrupt, didn't step in. She just gave a small, almost invisible nod, like she was telling me, "Go handle it." I turned back to Rachel. "Give me a minute," I said. We stepped a little away from the main floor, not outside, not hidden. Just out of the center, Rachel folded her arms lightly, not defensive, just holding herself together. "I didn't plan tonight like this," she said. I let out a quiet breath. "I figured." She gave a small, humorless smile. "I thought you'd come alone," she admitted. "Stay quiet, leave early." "That sounds about right." She looked down briefly, then back up. "And now?" she asked. I didn't answer right away because I wasn't sure how to explain it. "Now I'm still here," I said finally. "That's not what I meant." I know. Silence stretched between us. Not angry, not bitter, just honest. She shifted her weight slightly. I didn't invite you to hurt you, she said. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because it felt too late for that sentence. You didn't have to try, I said quietly. It worked anyway. She flinched just a little. I thought if Lily saw us being civil it would help her, she said. That part's true, I replied. And the rest? I looked at her, really looked this time, at the dress, at the confidence, at the life she had built after me. You wanted me to see it, I said. Her silence confirmed it, not immediately, not proudly, but truth has a way of sitting there when you say it out loud. I needed to know I made the right choice, she said finally. There it was, honest, unfiltered, and somehow. That hurt less than everything else. I nodded slowly. You did, I said. That made her look up sharply. What? You made the right choice, I repeated. No sarcasm, no edge, just truth, because she had. She wanted something different, something bigger, something I couldn't give her, and she found it. That didn't make her wrong, it just meant. We weren't right. Rachel stared at me like she didn't recognize me. That's not how this was supposed to go, she said. I almost smiled. Yeah, I said. I noticed. Her eyes moved again. Back to Victoria, standing with Lily, calm, unbothered, composed. Is that real? Rachel asked quietly. I followed her gaze, watched Victoria say something to Lily that made her laugh again. I don't know, I admitted. That surprised her. You don't know? No. I looked back at Rachel. She showed up, I said. That's all I know. Rachel studied my face carefully, like she was trying to find something she used to understand. And that's enough for you? She asked. I thought about it, about the night, about Lily, about the way everything had shifted without me forcing it. Yeah, I said, it is. We stood there for a moment longer. Then Rachel nodded slowly, like she was accepting something she didn't expect. I'm glad you didn't leave, she said. I didn't respond, because I didn't know if that was for me or for her. When I walked back, Lily ran to me immediately. Daddy, she told me you're very organized, she said. I raised an eyebrow. She's not wrong. Victoria glanced at me briefly. Your filing system is excessive, she said. It's efficient. It's obsessive. Lily laughed, and just like that, the tension broke again. I stood there with them, my daughter and my boss, in the middle of a room that had spent the entire night trying to define me. And for the first time, I wasn't letting it, not Rachel, not Brandon, not anyone, because something had changed. Not outside, inside. I wasn't here to prove I was enough anymore. I just was. And as I looked at Lily, smiling, relaxed, no longer asking why people were staring, I realized something quietly. The night hadn't changed because of who walked in with me. It changed because I stopped agreeing with the version of me everyone else believed. And once that happened, everything else followed. We didn't leave right away. That surprised me more than anything, not because there was a reason to stay, but because, for the first time that night, I wasn't counting the minutes until I could leave. Lily had found a second piece of cake. Victoria had quietly replaced it with something that looked less dangerous, and I was standing there. Not uncomfortable, not invisible, just present. You're staying longer than expected. The voice came from my left this time. Not Brandon, not Rachel, someone else. I turned. A woman in her 40s, sharp eyes, confident posture, the kind of person who didn't approach strangers unless she had a reason. I asked. She smiled slightly. People usually don't recover once they step outside, she said. They disappear. I let out a quiet breath. Yeah, I said, that was the plan. Her gaze shifted toward Victoria, then back to me. But plans change, she said. I nodded. They do. She extended her hand, parasitically. I shook it. Ethan. Her grip was firm, measured, not trying to dominate, just clear. I've seen you around before, she said, at board meetings. That caught me off guard. I blinked. I don't usually get noticed at those. That's because you're not trying to be noticed, she replied. That was accurate. Her eyes moved again toward Victoria. She is, Farah added. There was no judgment in her voice, just observation. Then. And yet, she continued, she's standing with you. I didn't respond because I didn't have an answer for that. Farah studied me for another second, then gave a small nod. Interesting, she said, and just like that. She walked away. People are trying to figure you out. Victoria's voice came from beside me. I glanced at her. She hadn't moved much. But she had seen everything. I'm not that complicated, I said. No, she replied. You're just not performing. That landed because she was right. Everyone else in that room was performing something. Status, confidence, happiness, control, and for most of the night. I had been performing too, trying to look unaffected, trying to look okay, trying to look like I belonged, but now I wasn't trying anymore. I don't think they like that, I said. Victoria's lips moved slightly, not quite a smile. People rarely like what they can't categorize. Daddy, look. Lily pulled on my sleeve again. I followed her gaze. The dance floor had opened up again. Faster music now, more energy, more movement. Can we go again? She asked. I hesitated, not because I didn't want to. Because I wasn't sure if I should. There were still eyes on us, still attention, still something in the air. Victoria noticed the hesitation. You don't need permission, she said quietly. I looked at her. I wasn't asking. You were thinking it, she replied. That stopped me, because again. She wasn't wrong. I exhaled, then looked down at Lily. All right, I said, one more. She cheered like I had just agreed to something life-changing, and maybe I had. This time the music was faster, messier, less elegant, which was perfect, because Lily didn't care about rhythm. She just moved, spinning, laughing, pulling me along like I actually knew what I was doing. I didn't, but I followed anyway, and something strange happened. I stopped noticing the room again. Not because it disappeared, but because it stopped mattering. People were still watching. I could feel it. But it didn't change how I moved, didn't change how I laughed when Lily stepped on my foot, didn't change the way I let her spin until she got dizzy. Because this moment wasn't for them. It never was. When the song ended, Lily leaned against me, slightly out of breath. That was better, she said. Better than what? I asked. Before, she replied, simple, honest, and again. That was enough. As we stepped off the dance floor, I noticed something else. Brandon, standing near the edge, watching, not smiling, not annoyed, just observing. Our eyes met briefly, and this time, he didn't look at me like I was beneath him. He looked at me like he was still figuring something out. Then he gave a small nod, not friendly, not cold, just acknowledgement, and that was new. You're different tonight. Rachel's voice again, closer this time. I turned. She was standing just a few steps away. No tension in her posture now, no performance, just curiosity. I don't feel different, I said. She tilted her head slightly. You do, she said. Before, you always tried to explain yourself. I frowned. I did. Yes, she said, even when I didn't ask. That stung because it was true. I had spent years trying to explain myself, to justify things, to prove I was enough to her, to everyone, and now, I asked. She held my gaze. You're not trying, she said. I let that sit for a second, then nodded. Yeah, I said, I guess I'm not. Rachel looked toward Lily, then toward Victoria, then back to me. And that's because of her, she asked. I followed her gaze again. Victoria was standing exactly where I left her, calm, still, unchanged. No, I said. Rachel raised an eyebrow. No. I shook my head. She didn't change anything, I said. She just showed up. Rachel didn't respond right away, because that answer wasn't what she expected, and that made a difference. She asked. I looked back at her. It reminded me of something, I said. What? I thought about it for a second, then. That I don't need to prove anything to be worth standing next to someone. Silence. Rachel absorbed that slowly, and for the first time all night. She didn't push back, didn't argue, didn't defend. She just accepted it. I used to think you weren't enough, she said quietly. There it was, not cruel, not sharp, just honest. I nodded. I know. She looked down briefly, then back up. I don't think that anymore. That didn't hit the way it used to because I didn't need it to. Okay, I said, and I meant it. She studied my face one last time, then smiled, small, real, not the practiced version she had used all night. I'm glad you came, she said, this time. It felt different. When she walked away, I didn't watch her go. I didn't need to, because whatever that chapter was, it wasn't holding me anymore. I turned back. Lily was already heading toward Victoria again, talking, laughing, completely at ease, and Victoria was listening, not interrupting, not correcting, just present. I walked toward them slowly, and as I did, I realized something I hadn't fully understood until now. This night wasn't about proving I had moved on. It wasn't about showing Rachel anything. It wasn't even about what people in this room thought. It was about something much simpler, much quieter. I came here afraid my daughter would see me as someone who lost, and instead, she saw me stand up, stay, and choose not to shrink, and that was something no one in this room could take away. When I reached them, Lily grabbed my hand again. Are we going home soon? She asked. I looked at her, then at Victoria, then back at her. Yeah, I said, soon. And this time, I wasn't leaving because I couldn't stay. I was leaving because I didn't need to anymore. We didn't say goodbye to many people. There was no need, no final round of handshakes, no forced smiles, no pretending we'd stay in touch. I picked up Lily's jacket from the chair, helped her into it while she yawned mid-sentence and took her small hand in mine. Victoria was already moving toward the exit, not ahead of us, not behind, beside, always beside. The ballroom doors closed behind us, and just like that, the noise disappeared. No music, no whispers, no eyes, just quiet. Lily leaned against my side as we walked. Tired, I asked. She nodded. But happy, she added. That made me smile. Good, I said. She looked up at me. Daddy. Yeah. You didn't look sad tonight. I paused just for a second because she noticed. Of course she noticed. Kids always do. I wasn't, I said. She thought about that, then nodded like she had just confirmed something important. Okay, she said softly, and that was the end of it. No more questions, no more confusion, just certainty. Outside, the night felt different, not because anything had changed out here, but because something had changed in me. The black car was already waiting. The driver stepped forward, opening the door without a word. Victoria gestured slightly. You first. I helped Lily in. She curled up immediately, her head finding my arm like it had done 1,000 times before. I got in after her. Victoria followed. The door closed and the car pulled away. For a while no one spoke. The city moved past us in soft lights and quiet streets. Lily's breathing slowed, even, steady. Asleep within minutes. I adjusted her gently, making sure she was comfortable, then leaned back, and finally let myself feel it. Not the embarrassment, not the tension, not the pressure. Those were gone. What was left was something quieter, something steadier, relief. Thank you. I said it without looking at her because I wasn't sure how to say it properly. Victoria didn't answer right away. I glanced at her. She was looking out the window, same calm expression, same unreadable eyes. You didn't need me, she said after a moment. I shook my head slightly. I did. No, she replied. Then she turned her head, looked at me directly. You needed a moment, she said, not a person. That made me pause because that sounded like something she had already decided. I wouldn't have stayed without you, I said. That's not true, she said. It wasn't harsh, just certain. You were already standing back up when I arrived. I frowned slightly. I was leaving. You were deciding, she corrected. That hit differently, because maybe. She was right. I had stood up. I had turned back before I even saw her. She just arrived in the middle of that moment. You changed the room, I said. Victoria shook her head once. No, she replied. The room changed because of what it recognized. I didn't respond, because I understood what she meant, but I wasn't sure I agreed. People didn't suddenly respect me because of who I am, I said. They never do, she replied. That stopped me. Then she added, they respond to what they believe. I looked at her. And what do they believe? She studied me for a second, then said, that you weren't asking for their approval anymore. Silence, heavy, clear, accurate. I leaned back slightly, letting that settle because that was it. That was the shift. Not her, not Rachel, not Brandon, me. The car slowed, stopped in front of my building, the same one I had left earlier that evening, the same one that used to feel small, limiting, like proof of everything I couldn't give. Now it just looked like home. I opened the door carefully, lifting Lily into my arms without waking her. She stirred slightly, then settled again. I stepped out. Turned back, Victoria was still inside, watching, not waiting for anything, just there. Good night, she said. Good night, I replied. I hesitated, just for a second. Because there were things I could say, questions I could ask. What happens now? Does anything change? Do we go back to normal? But something told me. That wasn't the point. Not tonight, so I didn't ask. I just nodded once and closed the door. The car pulled away quietly. No dramatic ending, no lingering moment, just gone, like it had only been there to do exactly what it needed to do, nothing more. I carried Lily up the stairs, slowly, carefully. The building was quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't judge you, that doesn't expect anything from you. I unlocked the door, walked inside, and laid her down on her bed. She shifted slightly as I pulled the blanket over her, murmured something I couldn't understand, then went still again. I stood there for a moment, watching her. Making sure she was comfortable, making sure she was okay, because that was always the only thing that mattered. When I stepped back into the living room, everything felt normal. Same couch, same table, same quiet, but it didn't feel small anymore. It didn't feel like something I had to apologize for. It just felt like a place where we lived, a place that was ours. I walked to the window, looked out at the street below. The same view I had seen every night for years. But tonight, it didn't carry the same weight. Because I wasn't measuring myself against anything anymore. Not Rachel's life, not Brandon's success, not anyone in that room. I wasn't asking if I was enough. I wasn't trying to prove that I was. I was just standing there, knowing it. Victoria hadn't given me anything I didn't already have. She didn't fix my life. She didn't change my past. She didn't promise me a future. She just showed up, stood beside me. And in doing that, she reminded me of something I had forgotten. Not what I was worth to other people, but what I was worth to myself. I turned off the lights, checked on Lily one last time, then headed to bed. Tomorrow would be the same, wake up early, make breakfast, go to work, sit outside her office like nothing had changed. And maybe nothing had, but something inside me had shifted, quietly, permanently. And for the first time in a long time. That was enough.